Hey class, so as I said on Monday's video, I wanted to upload another one this week just to kind of help you guys get acquainted with how we're going to do peer review in this class. As I said in like our first video, I don't want to spend a lot of time or any time if we can help it in class doing a lot of peer review workshop because we only meet the one day. And so what I've done is I've tried to move that process online. And so as of today, you've all been sorted into different peer review groups. And so, for each project that you have to turn in, what'll happen is that you'll have a new kind of Dropbox in your group that you'll upload your paper to. Then you'll have a couple days to download each other's papers, make some comments on them. For the longer projects, really for every project after project one, I'm going to give you guys a really detailed kind of checklist or how-to in terms of conducting peer review. And you'll use that to get feedback on your papers and to kind of provide each other feedback that you would otherwise get in class. And so what I want to do today is I want to look at those groups. I want to kind of explain to you how that process will take place, when it'll take place, what my expectations are. But first, there's a couple housekeeping things I want to address. In terms of the quiz one that you just took, I've looked at it and I saw that there was a couple problems with it. So specifically, there was two questions on it that had an issue. One of which asked you guys about a grade contract. Now that's a holdover from a different a different section of 3010, so it's not something that I meant to include. I didn't mean to include a question about a grade contract. So what that means is regardless of whether you got it right or wrong, I'm going to give you guys that point because that was a mistake on my end. The other one, there was a question on there. I don't remember what it was about. It might have been turning in late work. But essentially, regardless of whether you got it right or wrong, it was worth 0 points, which seems weird to me. So I'm going to give you guys also another point. So I'm going to be adding 2 points to everyone's score for the quiz, and so that'll happen over the next week or so. So just be aware of that. So sorry about that mix-up. Luckily, we only have one other quiz this semester, and I will make sure that those ones look good. Okay, so moving on to the peer review groups then, which is the focus of this video. You'll see over here on our tab, there's a new option for you guys. And so what'll happen is when you click, let me just turn the teacher mode off. When you click this, what you'll see is you'll see your groups. Now, there may be 6 groups, or if you're in my other section watching this video, there might be 4 groups or whatever. You'll see something like this. And so what you'll do is you'll come in here and you'll find whatever group you belong to. So we can go in here and you'll see it's got the group members listed out. So find your group and remember that because that's the same group that you'll be in for the entire semester. It'll never change. You'll always be in the same place. And so you'll be working with these same people. Now the reason that I do it this way is because it's really useful to have students, well, let me put it this way. A lot of classes might group students together based on the discourse communities they're investigating. For example, if I had 3 or 4 nursing students, they might group them together. However, I find it useful to group students together kind of randomly because that way you get some outsider perspective. So that when you're explaining some of the things that you're learning about your community, you're forced to do it in a way that takes kind of all different kinds of audiences into account, which means you have to do, you have to really be diligent about how you are explaining things. You can't just take things for granted. So in my experience, it ends up producing a lot better writing out of these assignments. Anyway, so what you'll do is you'll come into these peer groups, you'll find whatever group you're in, and then you can pretty much ignore all of these except for this discussion board. This is where we're going to be focused on. All right, so what you'll do is you'll click on this discussion board and it'll bring you to this. And so for each assignment, I'll post a new thread, project 1 rough draft, project 2, project 3, project 4, etc. And what you'll do is you'll click on that and you'll go up here to create a thread. So when you create a thread, you'll title it, your name and then project 1, or not 21, 1. There we go. And so this is what I want you to do. Instead of copying your essay into this little text box here, what I'd rather you do is browse your computer and upload a document like you would for any other assignment. Okay. And so what this will do is it'll upload a document right onto Blackboard, and it'll be in this thread for each other to see. So watch, I'll just upload one for fun. Let's go ahead and upload a draft. We'll upload part of my dissertation chapter for fun. There we go. Up we go. Okay, and so then if you're a student then in this group, you'll come into this group, click on peer 1, I'm going to go to my discussion board, project 1, and boom, I can see someone's uploaded their draft. So you can come into here, and you can just download it like you would a normal document. And so what this means is that you can do two things. One, you can do comments in Word, like you can add them in Word, but I also want you guys to post a little reply here, and you can post your whatever comments you want to post there. Okay. Now the reason that I want to make sure that you guys, do them down here as well is because this will allow me to make sure that you guys are providing each other feedback without having to go through each document and look at everything, because I'm going to be giving you guys feedback too. Again, you can totally go in there into the Word document and kind of email them the document with your comments, or you can just do them down here. But make sure that you are posting something down here as well. Okay. And so that's how peer review works. And so what will happen is by every Friday, or not every Friday, but for each rough draft, they will be due on the Friday of whatever week they're due. And then you'll have till Sunday to post some comments or some feedback on each other's drafts. Now, as you'll see, you've only got 4, maybe 5 people in your group to respond to, so it shouldn't take you that long. And this way you guys can get some good eyes on your paper. All right, so that's peer review, and that's what we'll do for every assignment. Also, for every assignment, I will be providing you my own feedback on them, and they'll be, kind of more substantive. I'll just email those to you, so you guys have my comments in the actual bulk of the essay, as opposed to just kind of tacked down here. I do want to point out, though, that part of this response factors into your participation grade, and so make sure that you are actually doing this, because I think what it essentially works out to is that each rough draft peer review session is worth something like 10 points. I don't remember the math right off the top of my head. But essentially, if you don't do it, you are going to take a significant hit on your grade, and you also will take a significant hit just in the quality of your work because you won't have that opportunity. So make sure that you're doing that. Now, I'm not looking for paragraphs and pages of good feedback, but just you should try to give them at least 2 things that stand out to you that they should focus on in any revision, and be specific about that. Okay, so that's peer review. So some other housekeeping stuff that I want to talk about now that we've covered that. Just to be clear, let's just go back and let's just recap what we're doing for week 2. Again, all we're looking for this week is for you to mainly focus on your rough draft, but I do want to talk about a couple other things I've got some questions about. Hopefully you're having some success in terms of either finding an expert or contacting a librarian, because remember, those are good resources that you're going to want to use in terms of gathering information for this. But let's take another look at the sample, because I've received some questions about the essay itself, in terms of things like format. So as I said in my last video, Project 1 is not a normal essay in that it is not exactly in essay form, right? It's going to look something like this. And so if you are making something like this, you are doing it correctly, okay? Now, I've had students that have done more of an essay style, meaning that they've taken each of the 6 components that they have to identify and investigate here, just like this student has done, goals, methods, blah, 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 and they've fleshed them out into more paragraph form. Totally fine. But you'll see this is also okay, because what this person has done is, instead of just giving me just this really short bulleted list, there's a lot of detail here. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I've got good, multiple examples for every single component, and it's fine to lay it out like this. Now, I will say a couple things about this, though. It's like I said, this is what it can look like as long as you have a lot of good information like this. Like, I don't want to see Lexis with, aka jargon, with like one example. Give me some examples. Or I don't want to see, like, in terms of nursing, if you have nursing and it's just like help people. It's like, well, obviously it's to help people, but like, what is the specific role a nurse plays in helping people and caring for them? Like, I want to see specifics, right? The other thing that I want to see that often students run into in terms of this project is I want to see complete sentences. I want the sentences to make sense, obviously. So even though it is a list, I want you to treat the style of your writing as kind of somewhat formal, right? But yeah, I mean, obviously you can just list things like this, but you'll see that most of these are sentences, and I would have docked things like this for not being complete sentences. I want to see complete sentences for the most part, so at least it helps me read this thing. Okay, so I think that's it. If you do have any questions or concerns, obviously feel free to email me. Get those rough drafts up tomorrow. And I look forward to actually having a face-to-face class on Monday. So remember, double check your time, double check our location. And what we're going to do on Monday will be, well, let's take a look. What are we going to do on week 3? Because we are starting to wrap up Project 1 already. So week 3, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be really focusing in on genre, because genre is going to be a concept that we're going to be using pretty heavily, especially in Project 2, but moving forward. And we've also got a couple mentions of genre in Project 1, right? Like you're having to identify some genres that your community uses. And so we're going to spend most of Monday talking about genre in terms of how we're going to be using that term in this class, because as we'll discuss, I'm not talking about just like a category, like, comedy movies, horror movies, whatever. We're going to be talking about genre as a tool, genre as a tool that allows different communities to communicate, to exchange ideas. And so that's what we're really going to be hitting home. And you'll see that, really clearly as we continue to do the reading for next week. All right, so let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Again, I'm very much looking forward to actually meeting all of you next week, and I will be in touch. All right, bye.